It is Mubaraka. We are here on February the 14th. It is 3:09 p.m. I'm a little late. Forgive me, peoples. But today we are talking about sugar addiction. Is sugar really an addiction? And I want to thank the person that commented on my post and asked this, well, a version of this question. Where do you get your information that this is true, right? Because I thought it would be a great topic. So thanks for commenting. And remember, if you comment something that I cannot uh, or don't feel like responding in detail, I too may do a live about your comment. So I thought that it would be a great opportunity to really talk about sugar addiction. What is it? How does it happen? What does the science actually say? If you are just joining me, my name is Mubaraka Ibrahim, and I am your health and happiness coach. And if you believe that physical, mental, and spiritual well being is intertwined, and the weakness of one weakens them all, and the strengthening of one strengthens them all, then welcome. You have found your tribe. You are here. You are home, because that is what we talk about here on the Fit Muslimah platform, Food, Faith, and Fitness. And if you have been following this week, you know that we are on day 5 of a 10-day sugar rehab. So 10 days, no sugar, right? For people who are just finding out, like, oh man, what does that mean? It is a 10-day sugar rehab to break sugar addiction. Wa alaikum salam Muhammadu on Facebook, Tahira Safi on Facebook. Wa alaikum salam. So today we are talking about sugar as an addiction. Why do we do a 10-day sugar rehab? We do a 10-day sugar rehab because sugar is actually an addiction. When you ask people kind of nonchalantly, what is the world's most addictive substance? A lot of people actually would answer that question with coffee. I would not argue a few years ago because I love coffee. Right? But the actual answer is sugar, particularly for Westerners. Particularly for Westerners. I say that because I'm American and I'm in America and I know about American statistics. So, for Americans, in the last 150 years, our sugar consumption has increased 158, I believe, 158% from, and what has really spurred this consumption of sugar is not just somebody drinking soda or having candy bars or eating chocolate chip cookies. It's because sugar is put into everything, from savory things like tomato sauce, ketchup, right? Things that you would think that, oh, this doesn't have sugar in it, right? It's just tomato sauce. To things that they tell us is a quote unquote health food, like yogurt, right? Many of the yogurts have flavored yogurt. It's vanilla, it's fruit on the bottom, which is the absolute worst, by the way. But they tell you it's a health food and that you should consume it because it have quote unquote probiotics, right? Even though the sugar kills the prebiotics and probiotics, but that's another conversation. When we get to a week where we're talking about gut health, we will dive into that. So when we talk about consuming sugar, let's first talk about what is the recommended amount of sugar that a person should consume. How do we get to a point where we are over consuming sugar for it to become an addiction? So according to the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control in America, and the FDA is the Federal Department of, what's the FDA? The Food and Drug Administration, I'm sorry. Those are American for my non-American followers. Those are the American institutions that set guidelines around health and nutrition in America. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't agree with a lot of things that they say. There's bureaucracy there, there's a lot of self interest there. But if we went with that, they recommend that the average woman actually only intake 24 grams of sugar a day. Keep that in mind. 24 grams of sugar. Men, 36. No more than 10% of your total caloric intake for a day. And in opposition, well, not in opposition, in difference from the World Health Organization, who actually recommends no more than 5%. So in America, our recommendations is twice that of the World Health Organization. But okay, let's go with it. 90% of Americans eat more sugar than the recommended amount, right? Oh, and let me differentiate so we can be clear. We're talking about added sugars, right? So I'm not even going to go on a low carb or keto rant today, right? We're only talking about basic health, eating for health, basic eating for health, right? Even if you don't need to lose weight, if you had a perfect body fat, perfect weight, you don't have no health issues, this is the recommendation, right? 24 grams of sugar a day. Now, keep in mind that is added sugar. That is the amount of sugar that is added to food. Now, think about this. The average flavored yogurt has about, even if you get one on the low scale, I mean, we can go really low. We can get like Greek yogurt, but let's just say the average person buys vanilla, blueberry, strawberry. That alone can have 20 grams of sugar in it, right? Added sugar. So when you look on the back of your package, we even list it. Now the FDA actually requires companies to list it on the back of on their nutrition label. You will see. Oh, I should have brought some kind of food with me. What did I bring with me? I don't think I'm in my studio, so I don't have any food in here. Oh, okay. If you have a package, right, and you look at the nutrition label, we'll go over another day on how to actually read labels. But if you look at the nutrition label, you will see that the requirement for every single package that is sold in the United States is that you must list total sugars, right? You must list added sugars, right? So when you look at added sugars, 24 is supposed to be the max for the total for the entire day. I believe a tablespoon of ketchup has like 11. So even if you say, you know what, I don't add sugar to my food. We already know, I know you're already following me, so you know you shouldn't be drinking soda, right? I'm just going to make the assumption that everybody here has broken their soda addiction at the least. If not, then that is your homework, right? So we're not even talking about things like soda or so-called sports drinks or granola bars or all of these things. Like when you look at the added sugar on the back, if you think that you do not eat too much sugar, I want you to take 1 week, literally count every added sugar on the back of everything that you eat. Like count it. Count the salad dressings, count the pasta sauce, count the ketchup, count the yogurt, count like everything. Don't even count total sugars. Just count added sugars, because 90% of us actually eat too much sugar. And what does that sugar do to us? And why do we consider it an addiction? So first, we're going to go to Uncle Wikipedia. Now, if you go to Wikipedia and you look up the word addiction, it says addiction is a brain disorder categorized by compulsive engagement in a rewarding stimuli despite adverse consequences. So when you know, and everybody knows, that sugar is not a health food, right? It is not what you should be eating to be healthy. We know that it will give us adverse consequences if you eat too much sugar. Everybody knows that, right? I find it really, really hard to believe that somebody thinks that sugar is a health food, okay? But We still eat it despite the fact that we know that it has adverse consequences. All right. I'm going to go to the second sentence here. It says, a variety of complex neurobiological and psychosocial factors are implicated in the development of addiction. Classic hallmarks of addiction include impaired control over substances. That means that you have a hard time resisting it. You're impaired control, right? Or over substance or behavior, preoccupation with substance or behavior, and continued use despite consequences. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute in terms of consuming sugar, right? Do people, if you want to detach yourself because you are still in denial, that's absolutely fine. Let's talk about somebody else. All right. Do people have a hard time not eating sugar? Impaired control over the substance and behavior? Yes. Despite the consequences, knowing it's not good for you, but we eat it anyway. Okay, last sentence of this first paragraph. Habits and patterns associated with addiction are typically categorized by immediate gratification coupled with delayed deleterious effects. Okay, you eat sugar, you feel good because sugar tastes good. Immediate gratification. We're going to talk in a minute about how that affects your brain. Because remember, what the very first sentence, we talked about the effects on the neurobiological, right? So immediate gratification. And then, because you get that sugar high, and then you get that crash, right? You get a crash after you finish consuming a lot of sugar, right? Delayed deleterious effect, right? That is and then you get diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. That's also long-term effects of eating too much sugar. So if you think that sugar is not an addiction still, I ask you to just go reflect on what the definition of addiction is and compare that to just the psychological and habitual use of sugar. All right, so that's point one. Is sugar a psychological addiction? Yes. Is it a habitual addiction? Yes. Now, what about brain and chemical, right? So one of the things that makes sugar so incredibly addictive is because human beings love to feel good. We love to feel good, right? We love joy. We love happiness, despite people having a hard time in their life and even people who are always scowling and trying to find something to be mad at. It is our human nature to want pleasure, right? Sugar gives us that pleasure, not just on a psychological level, but literally on a neurological, biological level. It literally changes hormones in our brain. So you may have seen a post where I said sugar is like the new crack cocaine. Why did I say that? Because when they looked at sugar and the effects that it had on the brain and the effects that crack cocaine has on people's brain, sugar literally lights up the same places in the brain that spurs the addiction, right? It causes dopamine, the hormone dopamine, right? Dopamine is a chemical that's released in our brain when we are happy, when we feel pleasure. And sugar actually triggers the chemical dopamine in the brain, just like it does when a person actually takes an illicit drug, right? Like crack or cocaine. Well, same difference, but you get it. It is the dopamine hit that causes the addiction. We love to feel good, right? We love to feel good and feel good in the easiest way possible, right? You don't have to go through 5 weeks of therapy before you have a breakthrough. And if you're going to eat sugar going to make you feel good right there, right? You don't have to sweat in a gym all day long before you look in the mirror and see results 6 weeks later. Sugar's going to make you feel good right there, right? These things that take us work to receive pleasure and joy from, sugar, like many drugs, it allows you to skip all of the work. It's like literally, the real and TikTok. Can we skip to the good part? Yes, it skips you to the good part. When you eat sugar, it skips you to the good part. So the brain is like, this is good. I love this dopamine. This is one of the reasons why we want it more and more. But just like every other drug, the more that you eat it, the more that you want it, right? So if you ever met anybody with, or even, hey, we live in it's 2022, you've seen a movie about alcoholism, right? When people first start drinking alcohol, they can get drunk off of a beer, right? We see these movies all the time. Teenager goes out and starts drinking alcohol, one beer, and they're like stumbling, whatever, right? But after doing that consistently, one beer doesn't get you drunk. Your brain is like, I need more than just this one. And it gets you, and you need more and more, and your tolerance goes up. The same thing happens with sugar. The tolerance of what it takes to get that feel-good feeling actually goes up. Your brain is like, okay, 5 hits of dopamine is not enough. I need 10 this time. I need 20 this time. Next thing you know, 2 cookies don't really cut it. You need to eat the whole bag, right? How many times, oh my God, how many times have I heard from people, I can't stop at 2 cookies. I open up the bag, next thing I know, they're all gone, right? That is a part of the addiction. It's very common. It's not normal, but it's common. So when we talk about sugar being an addiction, sugar is an addiction for every single reason that we pointed out, right? It's a psychological addiction. It becomes habitual, right? Despite its consequences. And it's literally changing our brain chemicals so that our brain itself is addicted to it. And even when we try to quit, it's really hard because your body is going to literally fight against you. Our body does not like change. Our body will resist it, even when the change is good for us. Even when the change is good for us, our body will resist it. That is the reason why, as I've been guiding you through this 10-day sugar rehab, I pre-warned you each day, you're gonna start getting a headache, right? If you have a real sugar addiction, you might get a headache. You might actually feel really achy in your body and your joints. It's a neurological, on the biological level, it is a neurological addiction, right? And your brain is like, where is my dopamine hit? I need my dopamine hit, but you're not giving it to it. So it's throwing a temper tantrum. Your brain is throwing a temper tantrum. So if you've been doing the 10-day sugar detox and you've had a headache, absolutely normal, right? That is a normal response to removing sugar from your diet. If you start feeling achy and you're like, I don't know, hey, we're in a pandemic. So some of us is like, oh my God, I don't feel well. Do I have COVID? You don't have COVID. It's just a withdrawal symptom. It's just a withdrawal symptom. Give it a couple of days. It'll go away. And that's another reason why I always tell people to start the sugar detox in the middle of the week, because by the time you get to day 3 or 4, you're on your weekend. And on your weekend, you can use that time to relax, hopefully have a lot less pressure on yourself, right? As opposed to having to work or take the kids to school or whatever you do during the weekday. So when we do our 10-day sugar detox, I warn people of the withdrawal symptoms. That is the reason why I call my detox the 10-day sugar rehab. It is literally like going into rehab. Because here is the thing about breaking a sugar addiction. They've done research studies on this, and reducing sugar does not work. Reducing sugar does not work. Eating in moderation does not work. Y'all been following me long enough to know how much I do not like the word moderation. Y'all know, because that really doesn't mean anything. That's like saying, hey, coach, my goal is to be fit. That tells me absolutely nothing, because if I ask 50 people their definition of fit, I'm going to get 50 different answers. If I ask 50 people their definition of moderation, I'm going to get 50 different answers. If I ask somebody that has a serious health condition, their definition of moderation, it may match somebody with absolutely no health conditions, and that wouldn't be appropriate for both of those people, because you need to eat to heal yourself. You need to eat for your health. You need to eat in order for you to be healthy, have goals, live life to its fullest, right? And that's very different for each and every person. So moderation is not a thing. Please stop saying that. All right, that was going off on a tangent a little bit. I'm going to reel myself in. Okay, I'm going to reel myself in. We're talking about sugar as an addiction. So when we want to break this addiction, you have to break it cold turkey. You have to completely eliminate it from your diet. Not forever, right? In order for you to get to the point where you can be fine and eat in a way that it literally keeps you below the recommended amount of sugar and added sugar intake for the day. In order for you to get there, you have to break the addiction. That means that you need to go a minimum. So the research says a minimum of 7 days, right? That's a minimum. My detox is a 10-day sugar detox, right? So we know for sure that your addiction is going to be broken. But what happens after the detox for many people is they go right back to the way that they were eating, right? I do this twice a year for you guys here on social media, and twice a year I have people doing it with me. The same people. I'm just saying. You got to have a plan afterwards, all right? So that is really how you break your addiction. You must quit cold turkey for 7 consecutive for in my detox 10 consecutive days, and then have a plan for a next step in your healthy eating lifestyle. All right? If you would like to download the sugar detox, it is absolutely free. It is at 10 daysugarrehab.com. In that download, you will find 3 lists of food. You will find a list of things that you should eat in abundance. You will find a list of foods that you should limit. And you will also find a list of foods that you must absolutely avoid during the 10 days. It is a no added sugar detox. That means it includes natural sugar. Honey does not naturally come out of a peppermint plant. So you cannot put honey in your peppermint tea. You drink the tea, but you can't have honey. You want to, because things like honey, molasses, syrup, although they are natural, they are considered added sugars because it adds the very same chemical component to your foods that are in high fructose corn syrup. And I say this, and let me be really clear. Your brain cannot tell the difference between high fructose corn syrup and honey. Your gut can tell the difference. Your body can tell the difference. Your fat cells can tell the difference. But your brain, for the purposes of addiction, cannot tell the difference between high fructose corn syrup and all natural honey. I don't care if you went and got it from the queen bee herself, all right? Your brain doesn't know the difference. That is why we eliminate all of it. Your list of foods with Jihad is all inside of the download. You can go to 10daysugarrehab.com and you can download it and find the entire list of foods there. Okay, that is my spiel for today. Today is day 5 of the 10-day sugar rehab. I hope that you're doing awesome. You must do this for 10 consecutive days. I'm not going to say it is going to be easy, but I am going to promise you it's going to be worth it. All right? So I will talk to you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right? Assalamu alaikum.